Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a look at a concept that really aims to redefine a person's entire sense of self and authority. We're going to be exploring some sources that challenge you to stop thinking of yourself as just, an ordinary person, and instead embrace the role of an active ruler in the world.
We have a fascinating source today. It's actually a single daily devotional, but it's dense. It's titled Chosen to Rule, A Mandate for Divine Dominion, and it's specifically dated for Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. And this devotional, it lays out a very precise framework for how to live, all rooted in this idea of spiritual authority.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Our mission for you as you're listening is to really grasp the implications here. It's not just about reading the claims. We want to get to the bottom of what it means to be handpicked by a higher power and actively separated from the world system. What does this mandate actually demand from you day to day? In your actions, your words, if you're chosen to rule, what are the rules?
And that distinction is everything. It's the whole engine of this devotional. It kicks right off with the foundational premise from the book of John. This is the great separation. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world.
So there's an immediate paradox there, isn't there? Mm-hmm. You're physically here, you're driving on the same roads, you're in the same economy you are in the world. But this choosing means you're fundamentally not of it. And the source insists this isn't just some, philosophical idea. It means living by a different set of rules.
Exactly. And the devotional argues that this separation, it immediately elevates you. It puts you into what it calls a royal class.
A royal class.
Yes. And it demands something called a kingdom mentality. This is where the practical application really starts. A kingdom mentality means your primary source of truth, your allegiance, it's all outside the world system. So your decisions, whether it's about your career, your money, your relationships, they're meant to be governed by principles of dominion and excellence, not by, what's trending or what everyone's worrying about.
I see. So it's a worldview shift that defines a new jurisdiction for your life. If I'm operating with that kingdom mentality, I'm not just a consumer or an employee.
You belong to a higher realm of existence with dominion and excellence. That's the language it uses.
And it gets very specific with these identity markers, doesn't it? It's not a vague title. It's almost like a formal coronation.
It is. It leans very heavily on a passage from 1 Peter, specifically the Amplified Classic Translation. It's full of this rich, directive language. It defines the chosen as a whole entity, a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a dedicated nation, God's own purchased, special people.
That is incredibly powerful language. It completely redefines who you are, but the source is clear that this isn't for passive enjoyment. There's an obligation that comes with it.
Yes, the purposes function, the mandate is clear. You've been chosen so that you can set forth the wonderful deeds and display the virtues and perfections of the one who called you.
So being special people
is fundamentally tied to the action of being a living demonstration. It's not enough to know your royalty. You have to actively show the characteristics of that royalty in every setting.
That's a perfect transition to the actual job description. If that's the new identity-separated royal, then what's the mandate for dominion? What is this royal class supposed to be doing?
The devotional is unambiguous. It's a direct command. Rule and reign over the systems, elements, structures, and circumstances of this world. This moves the whole idea from something philosophical to something functional. It's an active daily command to exert authority, not just to cope, but to dominate.
And the source draws a really powerful line in the sand here about how you engage with problems. The ordinary response, it says, is to join the crowd demanding change. But the source is explicitly against that for the chosen. Why? Why that resistance?
Because the perspective shift is just so radical. If you're ruling, you don't demand. You command. And the instruction says the believer is meant to be the one effecting changes through your words and prayers. That's the core of the royalty mindset. Demanding change, you see, it puts you in a position of lack, of servitude, but effecting change. That puts you in a position of authority and sufficiency.
That's a fundamentally different way to solve problems. But let's be practical. In our culture, which is so driven by protest and visibility, what does effecting changes through your words and prayers actually look like? Doesn't it sound a bit like, spiritualizing avoidance?
That's a fair question. And the devotional gets right at it by focusing on mindset and speech.
Yeah.
It says you must never think or talk like the ordinary man, because you represent a Father who is greater than all. The difference isn't avoiding action. It's changing the mechanism of action.
Okay.
So the ordinary man sees a recession and complains about the economy. The royal class believer sees the same thing but speaks solutions, speaks sufficiency over their own domain, and expects their words to literally shift the circumstances. It's proactive faith, not reactive complaint.
So the ruling happens primarily through declarative authority and prayer, not social pressure. And because the mandate applies to all circumstances, all structures, it has to be rooted in just absolute confidence. Where does that authority, that ability to rule, actually come from?
It connects directly to a victory that's already been secured. And that brings us to the foundation of overcoming. The source acknowledges the reality of struggle. It points to John 16:33, where Jesus says, "In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world."
And this is the pivot point, isn't it? From struggle to assured victory. The critical nuance the source emphasizes is that Jesus overcame the world not for himself, but for you. It's a transfer of status. You aren't trying to overcome. You already are an overcomer in him.
Exactly. And that transfer of status underpins the specific claims of superiority in the devotional. It states the chosen are superior to Satan, his cohorts of darkness, and the corrupting influences of this age. And this is essential because you can't rule what you're subject to. Dominion is only possible if you are, by definition, superior to those negative elements.
Okay, that sounds powerful, but we have to talk about the tension here. Because the reality is people still face tribulation, they still face failure. How does the devotional square that absolute claim of superiority with the physical reality of, the world systems crashing down on you sometimes?
The reconciliation is in the mechanism of activation. The victory is positional. It's a settled fact. But applying it is governed by faith. The source immediately connects the dots to 1 John, making faith the engine that translates that spiritual superiority into tangible dominion.
Let's look at that passage. It says, "For whatsoever is born of God overcometh the world. And this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith." So the rule isn't enabled by your own personal strength or smarts. It's enabled by the fact of being born of God, and it's only activated through belief.
It defines the mechanism precisely. Faith becomes the tool of dominion. If you're going to rule circumstances, your faith has to override the evidence your senses are giving you, the world's natural trajectory. And this isn't presented as magical thinking. It's the mandated operational procedure for this royal class. The rule only works because the overcoming is achieved through belief and then activated through those declarative words we talked about earlier.
Which brings us right back to practical application. If you've been separated, given this royal mandate, and equipped with this overcoming power, how are you supposed to actually function? You can't just sit at home declaring victory.
Right. And the calling is profoundly external. It's to reveal God's excellence and righteousness and to be set as a light in a dark world. This takes that internal positional identity and makes it a very visible external force that's meant to impact the environment around you.
The imagery it uses from the book of Matthew is so visual. It really demands public display. You're called the light of the world.
It's completely non-negotiable. The first image is the city that is set on a hill cannot be hid.
Right.
That speaks to the unavoidable nature of your identity. It's just going to attract attention. But the second image is about intention. No one lights a candle and puts it under a bushel.
Right.
You put it on a candlestick, so it gives light to the whole house.
And that function, lighting up the house, is tied directly back to the dominion mandate. The light isn't just for you. The source says the goal is so that others may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So the practical display of excellence points back to the kingdom.
Synthesizing it all, the function requires you to operate as heaven's best. It means actively shining light, dispensing grace, and revealing the beauty of the kingdom through your actions, your work ethic, your results. You're consciously functioning from that realm of glory we discussed. And that superiority has to be visible, and it has to be consequential in the real world.
So this whole deep dive really is a layered instruction manual. It starts with your divine origin, that leads to a heavenly calling, which then gives you the mandate to live as royalty and rule circumstances through faith and spoken authority.
And that brings us full circle, right back to the original tension.
Being in the world, but not of it.
Yes. The source references Jesus' prayer in John 17, which provides the final, crucial context for how this high-wire act is supposed to work.
And that prayer confirms the challenge. Jesus recognizes the cost of being separate. He says, "The world hath hated them because they are not of the world." So if you actually do this, if you execute this royal mandate and operate by a different set of rules, friction is basically guaranteed.
But the key point is that victory isn't found in withdrawal. The prayer is not take them out of the world, but keep them from the evil. You're meant to stay right there, in the middle of all the systems and circumstances, protected from the corruption, while you simultaneously execute the mandate to rule those very systems.
So we're left with a powerful concept. The devotional says the world hates you because you're not of it, yet your mandate requires you to be visibly affecting change and ruling in it. You're meant to be deeply engaged without being fundamentally aligned. So the provocative thought we want to leave you with is this. If your separation is defined by the world's friction with you, and your function requires you to be a city on a hill, unavoidably visible, what practical difference does this royalty mindset make when your peers and your colleagues are all demanding change? How do you maintain that non-negotiable separation while also fulfilling the mandate to illuminate and rule? That seems to be the ultimate operational challenge.